Okay, so this is lesson 2 for Mindset Mastery week number 4. This will be the last video for this week, guys. We're going to talk about positive affirmations, and we're going to talk about the 4 steps for reciting or using positive affirmations. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of advanced techniques or tactics, methods that I've kind of discovered through my own practice of positive self-talk and affirmations that, I just started trying this and incorporating this into my daily routine about a week and a half ago. And I'm already starting to see results or notice results or changes in my life and my attitude and my thought process. And it's really about rewiring, reprogramming your subconscious mind, guys. And this is one of the, at least for me, I found it to be incredibly fast. It provides results very quickly as far as reprogramming thought patterns. And so what are positive affirmations? Let's start with that. What is positive affirmations are statements that we would say to ourselves that describe how we want to be. Not how we currently are or presently are, because we wouldn't need to speak positive affirmations if we were wired, if our minds were programmed the way we wanted them to be, the way that, positively. But as mentioned many times, we have a lot of self-doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of negativity, a lot of just really what Zig Ziglar, he called it stinking thinking, right? And so we are our own worst critics. We criticize ourselves, and we literally take our failures and our embarrassments and our shortcomings, and we form them into a club, and we beat our self-confidence down. We beat our self-esteem into submission all the time through our negative self-talk. And I know everybody does that, guys, some more than others. And something I've certainly done. But like when you do something dumb and you call yourself an idiot or a stupid, or, you stupid idiot, or you asshole, that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, that adds up and that accrues, because when you tell yourself that stuff over and over and over again over time, your subconscious doesn't know any better. Your subconscious just believes it because you keep telling it. You're an asshole. You're an idiot. You know what I mean? And so you eventually get to the point where that's your go-to, right? You become an asshole or an idiot because you're always telling yourself that you are. And so, and I know that I don't think we have malicious intent when we say it to ourselves, but it becomes malicious as it compounds. The cumulative effect is it creates negativity in our lives and beats our self-esteem down, right? It lowers our self-esteem to where our self-image becomes less and less. We have less self-confidence, more fear. We're more awkward in certain situations, okay? So positive affirmations are statements that we can say to ourselves that are encouraging, uplifting, that help us to start to reprogram our mind for the things that we want and the way that we want to be. And they're typically stated in the will be, the future tense, or even a present tense. It's a little bit tricky when you start talking about affirmations and speaking in the present tense, though. And the reason why is because, for example, let's say you want to be wealthy, right? You want to be financially independent, financially free. Well, a positive affirmation that people would tell you would be to say, like, I am rich. I am rich. And say that to yourself over and over and over again. Well, it's difficult when first of all, in reality, you're not rich. If you're living on ramen noodles and you're living in your mom's basement because you had to move back into your parents' house, and you tell yourself you're rich, you're rich, you're rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich all the time, but you're not, that creates some discomfort. And there's actually a clinical term for it. It's called cognitive dissonance. Dissonance, D-I-S-S-O-N-A-N-C-E, I believe is how it's spelled. Cognitive dissonance. So when it comes to positive affirmations, it's good to be a little bit more specific. You want positive affirmations to be simple statements that can be repeated, memorized and repeated preferably, so that you can refer to them and repeat them multiple times throughout the day. But certain times throughout the day, they're going to be more effective than others, and we're going to talk about that in a moment as well. But they should also be a little bit more specific. Instead of like, I am rich, why do you want to be rich, right? Probably because being rich will afford you certain opportunities and certain things and certain luxuries that you don't have now. So you could be a little bit more specific and say, like, for example, I want to be rich so that I can be financially independent and secure. In other words, I don't want to have to ever worry about money again in the future. I'm not at that point yet, right? You know, if something happened to me, God forbid, and I couldn't work anymore, I couldn't continue working on my businesses. I do have some businesses that would continue to provide income, but not enough to be able to sustain the level of lifestyle that I would like, as well as to provide for my daughter's future and to leave the legacy that I want to leave, right? So, you know, I want more money in my life so that it can provide me with the opportunities for the things that I want to, as far as the level of lifestyle that I want to live the rest of my days, however long that may be, and also for my daughter, as well as philanthropic pursuits. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. It's one of those tricky words. But you know, I want to be able to give and to be able to, you know, help the community and that kind of stuff. It's stuff that it's important to me. So there's certain things that I want money for, and so financial independence and security is part of it, right? And so it might be, you know, I am financially independent and secure. That's a good positive affirmation. That's better than I am rich, in my opinion, because it's more specific. So I'm not going to I don't know enough about positive affirmations because this is something, again, extremely new to me, to be able to speak real intelligently about how you should frame all of your affirmations. I'm going to leave that up to you based on some very basic research, which is very simple. So positive affirmations are something that you can talk to yourself, and that discomfort, that cognitive dissonance, which is what you experience when you know it's not true yet. Your brain is telling you that's bullshit. You know, like, I am rich, or I am financially secure and independent, or I'm financially independent and secure. You know, say that over and over and over again. Your subconscious mind, right? Your instinct is going to be to like call bullshit. No, that's crap. You're not. You know, stop saying that. You're not. So it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable and awkward to do that, and it's going to feel like you're lying to yourself. But that's where repetition comes in, and that's how you can improve or increase or get it to stick, get it to take. In other words, I was just talking about how we typically negative self-talk or criticize ourselves all the time. At every single opportunity that's available to us, we typically criticize ourselves, right? And over time, there's a cumulative effect to where it literally lowers our self-image to that point of whatever the criticisms are that we continually feed ourselves. So the same can be said for positive affirmations, right? And becoming aware of negative self-talk is the first step in overcoming it. So just becoming aware and starting to catch it when you do it, like catching yourself in the act of criticizing yourself or talking negatively to yourself, is the first step. But then to proactively begin replacing those negative statements, self-statements, with positive self-statements, positive affirmations, is the next step. And then repetition is the following step, because just as you have probably been talking negatively to yourself for many, many years, which has lowered your self-esteem and your self-confidence, you need to build the habit of constantly talking yourself up to raise your self-esteem and your self-confidence. And I found this to be incredibly effective. When I first started studying the personal development, this journey that I've been on now for damn near 5 months, which has been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. When I first started all that, and I was reading about positive affirmations, like, that's crap. It was the ego set in, you know, and it was like, I don't need that crap. You know, I'm going to try this other stuff, visualization and imagery. And I'm even going to try meditation, which I thought was hocus pocus crap for a long time too. But I thought that was crap, even when I was starting to open my eyes and become more receptive, I guess, to some of these other ideas. I still thought this one was junk. And it wasn't until just about 2 weeks ago that I started saying, you know what, I'm going to open myself up to that too. Why would I stand there with my arms folded and say, no, I don't need that. It's not going to work for me. That's a very closed-minded, that's a small potato approach. Like in psycho-cybernetics, he talks about big potato, little potato. And we typically like, are we being the big potato version of ourselves, or are we being the small potato version of ourselves? And so for me to completely disregard positive affirmations up until just a couple weeks ago was me being a small potato. That was my ego getting in the way again, which it often does, guys. I've got a big effing ego, okay? And I've tried to get better at that. And I think in the last 5 months, I have gotten a lot better because I'm more aware of it, and I'm trying to take proper steps. So positive affirmations, here's the 4 steps. Well, first, before I even get to the 4 steps, I'm going to give you 2 resources. There's plenty more out there, guys. You can just go to Google and search positive affirmations list, or list of positive affirmations. I'm going to put a slide into this video with the actual links, as well as in the description of the video, so that you can just click through and go to that site, or those sites. But you can do a Google search on your own. So by category, there are some positive affirmations that are segmented by category. So like wealth, health, self-improvement or personal development, maybe relationship affirmations, spiritual affirmations. There's, all different kinds of affirmations. So what's great about these sites that list, the top 100 affirmations and things like that, is they're segmented by category. So if you have certain areas in your life that are lacking or that you want improvement in, then you can go right to those types of categories and just scroll through or scan through all of the affirmations that are listed, and identify some that will work for you, or that are interesting or stand out, that call your attention, that jump out at you. But you can also reword them. Just because they're listed on the website doesn't mean that you have to speak and recite them word for word, right? You can modify the affirmations to fit you specifically. The idea, though, is to keep them simple enough that they can be memorized so that you can repeat them throughout the day, all right? And so the two top results that I saw that had about, I think one was 100 positive affirmations and the other one was 101 positive affirmations, and they're segmented by category. The first one is startofhappiness.com, startofhappiness.com/positive-affirmations. Okay, so startofhappiness.com/positive-affirmations. That's number 1. And again, they're separated by category. Number 2 is livebold-bloom.com/09/quotes/positive-affirmations. Okay, I'm not going to repeat that again. I'm just going to put a link in the description, as well as it'll be in a slide on this video. So go there, start looking at them, scanning through them, go by category. If there's certain, I would scan through all of them anyways, guys, just become familiar with them. And if you go scan through 100 affirmations on one page and 101 on the next page, it'll give you a really good idea of what affirmation statements are like, right? What a typical affirmation statement is like. And then you can either develop your own or use those as kind of a guideline to give you some ideas. And I suggest identifying specific areas of your life that you want improvement in, and in finding those categories, and in writing affirmations around statements that will help you to improve that part of your life. There's 4 main steps to this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some advanced techniques that I've been developing in my own mind through this practice. And this, guys, this has to be a daily thing. If you just sit down and do this one time, it's not going to have any effect at all, period. It's a waste of damn time, so don't do it. Unless you're going to commit to doing this, just don't even bother, right? So I would encourage you to make a commitment to do this and work this into your daily routine. I do daily meditation every day anyways now, and I spend about 90 minutes every morning from 4:30 a.m. until 6 a.m. working on meditation, my daily planning. I plan out my day. I pray, tell God, thank God for all the things that I have in my life that I'm grateful for. And then I go into an hour of study, which is study and visualization. I keep pointing at the thing, but it's not written up there. Visualization and creative imagery. And now I've incorporated daily affirmations, and it takes me 6 or 8 minutes to go through all the affirmations. I don't have my clipboard down here, but I've got them all written down on a clipboard by category. And I've got like 16 or 18 affirmation statements that I say every day. And the idea is to go through this kind of like 4-step sequence so that the affirmations have the most effect. So step 1 is to go to level and prepare to recite. So what do I mean by go to level? Meditate, guys. Don't let meditation scare you. Meditate just means slowing your mind down, slowing your thoughts down, kind of calming the noise in your mind so that you can focus, okay? And, you know, I've said this many, many times, but what introduced me into meditation and got me started on all of this is the Headspace app, which you can download on Android or iPhone, and maybe Windows Phone as well, but it's called Headspace. And it's got guided meditation and breathing exercises, and that's all it is. It's just how to quiet your mind and focus on your breathing, which focusing on your breathing helps to quiet your mind. So it's kind of like a cause and effect. And it perpetuates itself, okay? So I do that every single morning. That's how I start my 90 minutes of every day that I go into this whole self-improvement 90-minute power hour, so to speak. I do that. I start every single day with Headspace for 10 minutes, okay? And that's just to get down to level. So I'm getting at it to a lower level of consciousness. I'm going from the beta state, the beta brainwave frequency, to the alpha brainwave frequency. And with deep enough meditation, you can hit theta, which is very, very low wavelengths, very slow. The frequency is real low. But that's a bit more advanced. So just talking about going from beta to alpha. So just slowing your breathing down, or slowing your thoughts down, focusing on your breathing. Get to that first. So go to level, just go to that lower level of consciousness, because that's where your subconscious is more receptive to suggestion, which is what positive affirmations are. They're repeated suggestions. They're suggestions that you repeat over and over and over again, to where your subconscious has no choice but to believe them, because it hears it over and over again. Just the same as constantly degrading yourself, right? Berating yourself, criticizing yourself over time forces your self-conscious to believe those criticisms to be true, whether they're true or not. So the same thing goes with positive affirmations. You can trick your brain into believing all these things are true by just, and it's faster, it will happen quicker if you can go to level and do it at an alpha state as opposed to beta. Because at beta state, your conscious mind is saying, oh, it's bullshit, it's not true. We know this to not be true. So you're actually fighting against yourself. You're saying statements that your conscious is already fighting. So your subconscious is only kind of recording that activity, and it may be absorbing it, but with that seed of doubt, if that makes sense. So going down to level is going to make it easier. Number 2 is go inhale and think of the affirmation statement. What do I mean by that? So once you've written down your affirmations, I would suggest that you write down affirmations for every area of your life that you want improvement, which is probably, you can probably find or seek improvement in every area of your life. Regardless of whether you're happy and content or not, there's probably certain things in every area of your life that could be improved upon. So I would encourage you to write down, 1 or 2 or maybe more affirmations for each area of your life. And so instead, number 2 is inhale and think of your affirmation statement. What I mean by that is breathe in, and as you're breathing in, say it in your mind. Say that affirmation statement in your mind. So your internal dialogue, we all have self-talk, self-speak. We talk in our own minds, right? We hear our own voice in our minds all the time. For me, it's incessant, never-ending dialogue. The only time my dialogue ever ceases is when I'm actually meditating. And even then, I have to struggle, because a lot of the times the dialogue would just pop up and start again, and then I have to breathe deep enough, and then all of a sudden it quiets, calms long enough for it to, slow down. So the internal dialogue, just repeat the affirmation statement in your mind, right? On the inhale. So inhale, say the affirmation statement in your mind. Then exhale and speak it aloud, okay? Say it aloud. I don't care if you feel like a jerk or not. Do it. Say it aloud. The reason why is because when you speak the affirmation aloud, you are activating 2 of your physical senses. Your voice, the physical act of speaking it, okay, which is going to give it that much more power. And number 2 is your auditory senses. You're going to actually hear it. Instead of hearing it in just your mind, which is like your internal dialogue, now you're actually physically, your eardrums are hearing the sound. It's an audible sound. And so because of that, you've activated 2 physical senses into the reprogramming of your mind through positive affirmation statement, reciting them. So number 1, go to level. Get down to a lower state of consciousness. Try to get to an alpha level. It's not difficult to do, guys. It takes a little bit of practice, a couple of days. If you don't have to use the Headspace app. You can use any app that you want, or you can just do it on your own. I recommend the Headspace app because it's the one that I use. It's the only one I've used. It's great. And with a 10-minute guided meditation session, you can get down to alpha level. And the Headspace app gives you 10 days of free trial, and it's 10 days of 10 minutes per day. At the end of those 10 days, if you do it for 10 minutes every day, then you should be able to get back down to the alpha level from that point on. It should be, at the end of 10 days, it should be something that you can repeat and get to with just a short breathing exercise, okay? So go to level. Number 2, inhale and think of the affirmation statement. So inhale, say the affirmation statement in your mind. Then exhale and speak the affirmation statement aloud. Say it with some emotion, and that's where we're gonna get into the advanced techniques, and then we're gonna wrap this up. I've got a meeting in a few minutes. For each affirmation, you wanna repeat it 5 to 20 times. Now I know that sounds like a lot, guys, but it only takes a few minutes. I found for me, I do it 10 times, because as I'm breathing in, I'm inhaling and I'm saying my affirmation statement in my mind. That counts as 1. So that's the inhale is 1, then exhale, that's 2. Inhale 3, exhale 4. Does that make sense? So I do it 5 times, which is a total of 10. I've repeated that affirmation statement 10 times. 5 times in my mind, 5 times aloud, okay? So I'm doing it a total of 10 times, but I consider the inhale as 1, exhale as 1. So I do it 5 times. It's a total of 10 times that it's been repeated. All right, and so it only takes a couple of minutes. I just mentioned a minute ago that, you know, I started incorporating this, and I think I've got, like I said, I think I've got 16 or 18 affirmation statements that I say now daily, and I repeat it 5 times. 5 times inhale, 5 times exhale, so 10 times each. I'm already at a level because I do the meditation anyway, so I incorporate these into that whole meditative session. So if you're doing this from scratch, I would say do a 5 to 10 minute breathing session to get in, meditation session to get into your alpha state, and then repeat your affirmation statements, like I said, 5 to 20 times each. It only takes you a few minutes. It takes me probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 minutes to get through all all roughly 16 or 18, whatever it is, affirmations. All right, so here's some of the advanced techniques that I want to talk about, because this will make it a little bit easier, I think, for some of you. There's a technique called clear the whiteboard. This is a whiteboard, right? You guys know that. All right, so what I do is I get down a level. I'm typically already in level, but if you're just starting this from scratch, or if I was just going to right now go sit down and say I'm going to go recite my affirmations, I would spend 5 to 10 minutes getting down to level. Then what I do is, in my mind's eye, with my eyes closed, I picture a whiteboard, a clean whiteboard. So I would take my eraser. In fact, you guys got this. I'm going to go ahead and erase this. But what I would do is I would clean. Now, all of this would be gone. Screw it. I'm just going to get rid of it. So this is what I'm going to do. So like I said, in my mind's eye, I do this in my mind's eye, guys. So I would say, like, for example, I am financially independent and secure. That would be one of my affirmations. So in my mind's eye, I write it down just like this. Financially independent and secure, right? So in my mind's eye, I write this affirmation down on the whiteboard. I'm imagining this, okay? So I imagine me taking a Sharpie, popping the top off, and I write this down. Then I set the Sharpie down, I take a step back in my mind's eye, and I inhale as I read that. So in my mind's eye, I'm picturing myself reading the whiteboard that I just wrote. So this is my only thought, and I can see myself reading it in my mind's eyes. That makes sense, in the theater of my mind. And I do that while I inhale. So I am financially independent and secure, and then I speak it aloud as I breathe out. I am financially independent and secure. Say it with a little bit of emotion, guys. And then repeat that however many times you choose to do it. Like I said, I inhale 1 time, and exhale while I say it aloud. I do that 5 times. So it's a total of 10 times repetition. Then in my mind's eye, I come over, pick up the whiteboard eraser, I erase it. I see the words being erased as I erase them, and it kind of gives me a chance to repeat it one more time. Then I pick up my Sharpie, and if I have to, I open my eyes and look at my clipboard just to remember what the words are of my next affirmation, but I just do that momentarily. Then I close my eyes, I take another deep breath to get that image of the clean whiteboard now in my mind again, and then I write down my next affirmation statement, and I see myself writing it down. And then I take a step back, I breathe it in, say it in my mind, exhale, say it aloud. I do that 5 times. Now, here's the thing. The whiteboard thing really helped me the first several days to keep that affirmation statement in focus so that no other thoughts popped into my head while I was trying to do the breathe in and say it aloud out. Does that make sense? Because again, that internal dialogue, guys, just happens, and sometimes you just, we have such little control over that. And the thing about meditation is not to exercise control. It's to allow things to happen as they naturally happen and to just observe. And so there's certain tricks and techniques that you can incorporate. And again, this whiteboard method works for me. I don't know if it's going to work for any of you, but for me, it helps me to keep that singular thought in my mind. And it doesn't completely eliminate encroaching thoughts, but it does reduce them considerably to the point where I don't get distracted by, random rogue thoughts, so to speak. All right. So that's number one. Is the first few days that I started doing this, like within the first 2 days, I started using the whiteboard technique because I was having trouble keeping my mind focused on just the affirmation statement, because again, things would start popping into my mind. And so I started using the whiteboard technique, and for a few days I did that, and it worked perfectly because it kept my focus on that one affirmation statement. And really helped to solidify or like drive it home, if that makes sense. But what's happened over the last few days, which I found really interesting, was I started to use my visualization, so the creative imagery in the process. So I still write it down. I still picture the whiteboard. I write down the affirmation. I see myself pick up the Sharpie, pop the top, write it out. I see the words being written. I always put a period at the end. I don't know why, but that just, to me, it ends the statement. I put a period. I set it down, and then I take a step back and I breathe in and I say the statement in my mind. But at that moment that I'm breathing in and I start to say the statement, now I start imagining that affirmation being applied to my current situation in life. In other words, so now I'm joining creative visualization and imagery with the positive affirmations, because I'm imagining as I'm breathing in and thinking of that positive affirmation statement, I'm imagining it being applied to a current, like present day situation in my life, where if that affirmation were true, how it would affect that current present situation, how that situation would be if that affirmation were true. Okay, let me rephrase that one more time. As I breathe in and I say the affirmation statement in my mind, I imagine that affirmation statement being true and apply it as if it were already true in a current present day situation in my life. Because what happens is that it ignites emotion, because it helps me to become excited about the prospect of that affirmation being true. And so now when I exhale and I say that affirmation statement, it has naturally the emotion behind it that's going to help to drive it home and make it more real. Because remember, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real and imagined experience if it's vivid enough, which includes intense human emotion. So again, this is something that I didn't read about, this particular method. The Clear the Whiteboard method is something that I learned from Psycho-Cybernetics, from Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He called it Clear the Calculator. He was talking about using a calculator because the text was written many years ago, before computers and probably before whiteboards. Another version of it was called Clear the Chalkboard. I call it Clear the Whiteboard. So I actually just incorporated that method into the positive affirmation statement to help me focus on a singular affirmation at a time. Okay, but then like I said, after just a couple of days of testing or trying that, and that really did help me, I just started, and it was just kind of by accident, but I just started, as I was breathing in, imagining that affirmation as if it were true today in a current present situation, and how I would feel if that were true, right? And that feeling, and guys, remember, you might say, well, how do you think about all that while you're saying a very short statement like I am financially independent and secure? Because guys, in our subconscious mind, there is no element of time. Time does not exist, right? So you can imagine a mental picture, like a short mental movie that spans, an hour's worth of time in a matter of mere seconds, like literally, because you can play it like on super high speed, but you can see the effect of that affirmation being applied to your current present day situation and in whatever your affirmation statements are. And just activating that emotion helps, because when I speak it aloud, I can feel and hear the emotion placed behind that affirmation statement. And that really helps to kind of just drive it home. Like, you're going to get this subconscious whether you like it or not. Does that make sense? So again, guys, I highly recommend that you start working on your positive affirmation self-talk. Guys, you probably have developed some really poor images of yourself over the years. It's accrued over time. It's accumulated because of negative self-talk that you've done, not with malicious intent, but it ended up becoming something that has really lowered your self-esteem over time, right? So now here's the opportunity for you to start to improve your self-image, increase your self-confidence. Start speaking into existence the things that you want in your life. And with positive affirmations, again, I thought this was bullshit too. Even when I started this whole journey on self-improvement, I still thought that was crap until just a couple of weeks ago. And within just 10 days or so, I can already see and feel the difference in my own life, in my thought patterns. And it's just a matter of every single day. And I'll just give you one more example, as I really got to go. One of my affirmations is, there is time and space for everything I need to do. Okay? That's one of my affirmations, because I have so many damn projects going on all the time. This is one of them. This Mindset Mastery series is another one of so many different projects that I have going on. And I'm constantly stressed out about all the different projects. I'm excited about all of them. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited about all the business adventures and things that I've got going on in my life. But I get overwhelmed. I'm sure all of you can relate. But I get overwhelmed with so many projects going on. And I have a hard time focusing on a specific task at hand, because I'm always worried about the next task that needs to be completed. And so one of the affirmations I'm working in, that I've been working with for the last week and a half, has been, there is time and space for everything I need to do. And I say that every single day now. And what I found is it's really started to provide a sense of calm to the activities that I'm doing, because I recognize I have a shit ton of work to do ahead of me. But I also recognize that, God willing, that there will be enough time and space to get all of those things done, just given enough time. And as long as I'm focused on the process instead of the end result, the process being doing the things necessary to complete those tasks, they will get completed. Even if it's not in the time frame I had hoped for, they will get completed. So there is time and space for everything I need to do. And so, for me, that one positive affirmation statement has really helped me to get a better sense of calmness throughout my day, and less anxiety, less anxiousness about all the other stuff that needs to be done, if that makes sense. It helps me to prioritize too. So I'm going to wrap it up, guys, but I would say daily affirmations is something that you should definitely try if you're trying to improve your life. And you need to do it consistently, though, guys. So let's do this. I gave you a 21-day challenge a few weeks ago during that Power of Habit, and I called it, an hour a day. That was the title of the series. I think that was week 2. The Power of Habit, Habits an Hour a Day was the series. If you haven't watched it, go back. So I gave you guys a challenge to do a 21-day challenge of focusing on goal setting and meditation and visualization for just 1 hour per day. And it's only really focusing on your goals for 10 minutes per day. But the entire process between warming up, focusing on your goals, then focusing on your tasks for the day, everything ends up being, it's just under an hour. But I challenged you to just practice that for 1 hour per day for 21 days before casting judgment on whether it works or not. So for the affirmations, I can tell you after 10 days I'm seeing results. So I would tell you to do the same 21-day thing. If you're already working on an hour a day practice, I keep pointing at the board like it's written down, but it's not. If you're already working on an hour a day, if you took me up on the challenge, then work these in, because your positive affirmations will only take you a few extra minutes, and you can work that into your hour. If you haven't started any of it, then I recommend that let's just start with your positive affirmations, if nothing else. Go get the Headspace app if you don't already have it, or something similar, so that you can learn how to get down to an alpha level, or just to slow your mind down, and practice breathing exercises, calm the noise. Spend 10 minutes getting into that meditative state, then practice the affirmation statements just like I mentioned. Inhale, breathe it. Inhale and say it as you're inhaling in your mind. Exhale and say it aloud. Use some of the techniques like the whiteboard technique to make it sharper and in focus. Then you can start adding visualization, like thinking about them being applied in your life, and then repeat it for 5 to 20 times per each affirmation. So do that for just, it'll take you 15 minutes. If you do a 10-minute warm-up meditation exercise, it'll take you 5 minutes to do your affirmations. So that's 15 minutes a day. Do that for the next 21 days and report back to me, guys. Share with me the results you've had. I have a feeling at least I can speak for myself. In 10 days, I've been able to see really good results from this exercise. So I would encourage you to do it for 21 days, but if you just did it for 10, hey, that's a start. And let me know how it goes. But guys, you have to do it every single day. If you don't do it every single day, it's not gonna work. You can't do this one time and expect results, okay? You need to do it every single damn day. Create the habit, and what'll happen is you'll start realizing and catching yourself anytime you do any sort of negative talk, and after a few days, you start to memorize these affirmations to where if you catch yourself saying something negative to yourself, right, criticizing yourself, then you can say, oh, wait a minute, stop that, cancel. You can say cancel and tell, like, that's a command to your subconscious to cancel that thought, and then repeat one of your affirmation statements that counterbalances or counter affects that negative statement that you just said. Does that make sense? And then repeat that positive affirmation statement a couple times. Do it. Breathe it in, say it in your mind eye, and then say it aloud with some emotion. And that will overpower any potential negative self-talk that you may have just repeated to yourself. Does that make sense? So, Bradley Benner with Mindset Mastery. This was week 4. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. We'll see you next week.